If you have been paying attention to what's been going on around the world, I'm pretty sure you are feeling as anxious as most people are, as I am sometimes. And I always have to remind myself that God has a plan and that He is still in control. He is always in control. He will always be in control. And the things that are happening are very concerning. You know, there's wars here, wars there, wars popping up everywhere, right? Rumors of wars. You know, there's tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, all types of inclement weather. Um, there is tragedies happening in almost every corner of the world. Crime is up, you know, looting, burglary, robbing, just, you know, people killing each other, murder, death. It's a lot. Rape, you know, our morals are going down the drain almost every day. You know, it's like we have lost our way. We have lost our compass, our North Star, as far as our morality is concerned. And a lot of the times, us who are professing believers, you know, in God and in Christ, we don't know where to go to seek for answers. And obviously, to me, the best place to seek answers is in the Holy Bible. And one place in particular that we're going to talk about today is in Daniel, because Daniel speaks about the time of the end. You know, a lot of people are wondering, is this the end times? Is the world going to end? Is it going to be destroyed? How is it going to end? And there is much confusion and deception in the world right now. And I want to help you, brothers and sisters, so that you are not deceived, nor are you confused concerning the end times, because our Lord, our Heavenly Father, gave us His word. He told us in advance what was going to happen so that we would be prepared for it. And I would tell you to not fear these things. When you see these things happening, do not fear it. Because all who believe in God, all who call upon His name shall be saved. And that's the truth. That's something that you need to understand. You don't have to fight this by yourself. God has already promised us victory. He's already promised us victory. And the truth does not need anyone to defend it, right? The truth shall defend itself. Time will tell. It always does, who's true and who's false. So all of these things that are happening right now, you don't necessarily have to, rebut it, or you don't necessarily have to violently attack those who are spreading false rumors and innuendos. However, you need to secure yourself in the truth and to know the truth for yourself and to speak the truth to others, those who want to know the truth. So I want to do a quick Bible study with you, and I want to talk about how the Bible, like the truth about the Bible. Okay, so the Bible is a book of principles, patterns, promises, parallels, precepts, practices, prayers, and prophecies. It can be interpreted literally, figuratively, and symbolically. And it's important to understand this because I wouldn't say the Bible is a complicated book. However, there is in order to interpret it correctly, you need to have like a legend, in order to read the map, it's like a map, right? In order to read it correctly, the legend kind of tells you what things are. So you need to understand how to study the Bible, how to read it in order to get the accurate interpretation of it, and to really fill in the pieces, to see the big picture. That's really what God is trying to give us. He's trying to give us the overall grand scheme of what He's doing, right? As well as what Satan is doing. But we're not focused on what Satan is doing or what the enemy is doing. They're going to do it regardless of what we do. What we try to focus on is what God is doing. So I'm going to go into Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to talk about this vision that Daniel had. It's a vision of the end, and it will kind of help us to understand what is going to happen in the end times as far as the human kingdoms is concerned, as far as the kingdoms of this world is concerned, because that's really where a lot of the deception is coming from. The people of the world, the kingdoms, those who rule the nations, and the nations who are in charge currently. So let's dive in. Okay, so this is Daniel chapter 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. So Daniel, if you don't know, he was part of the children of Israel, or he was actually part of Judah, the southern kingdoms, who were taken. Some of the people were taken to Babylon when King Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Jerusalem and took the Jewish people captive in that time. So now Daniel, he rose to prominence, and he was an advisor to the kings of Babylon in almost every what do they call it? So they had different kings. So after Nebuchadnezzar was king, he passed away. His son became king, and his son was overthrown. And so I think the Persians came in, and then they became rulers. And then so Daniel served under a few different kings, a few different administrations, if you want to think about it in that sense. So Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Okay, so Daniel is telling us his dream. Okay, he's telling us the vision that he had at night. And Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Okay, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, where it says, I, Daniel, saw a great storm churning the surface of a great sea, right? So with strong winds blowing from every direction, okay? And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. So picture in your mind like this in the sea is turmoil. You see the winds blowing and everything is upheaval. So it's giving us an example of what these times are going to look like. It's very tumultuous, very chaotic, right? And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first beast was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Okay, so these are all symbols and figures of speech right now. Okay, and behold, but they have a literal meaning as well. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear. Okay, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. Right? So the bear, he said, I heard a voice saying to it, get up, devour the flesh of many people. Okay, so a voice spoke to that bear and told it to devour much flesh, right? Meaning, it can mean many things. I think it probably means that bear is going to be the cause of many people dying. Okay, and I beheld, and lo, another creature, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl or a bird. The beast had also four heads, and dominion was given to it. Okay, so the first two beasts, they had one head. The first one had wings, which was plucked away. The second one was what looks like a bear, right? First one looked like a lion, second one looked like a bear. Third one looked like a leopard. This one was interesting because it had 4 wings as well as 4 heads, okay? And it says, and dominion was given to it, right? So the third one, it says, great authority was given to this beast. So dominion, you can also interpret it as authority, okay? After this, I saw in the night's vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, okay? So it says, after this, then in my vision that night. Okay, so these are, I think it's the same vision, but separate parts of it. So the first part, he saw these 3 beasts. Then it says, after this, I saw in the night's vision, and behold, a 4th beast. So it says, then in my vision that night, I saw a 4th beast, terrifying, dreadful, and very strong. So it says, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. Okay, so this 4th beast was terrifying. And it's interesting how he described this beast, because he didn't really describe the other beast as terrifying. Like, the other beast didn't really frighten him as much as this one. Okay, so it says it looked very strong, and it had great iron teeth. Okay, so these are interesting ways to describe this beast. The teeth of it was iron. It devoured and break in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, right? So it says that it devoured and crushed its victims with huge iron teeth and trampled their remains beneath its feet. It was different from any of the other beasts, and it had 10 horns. Okay, so now it says it was different or diverse from all the other beasts that were before it. Okay, the other 3. And it had 10 horns. So this beast, interesting enough, had 10 horns upon his head. There's another beast in the Bible that talks about 10 horns, and you find it in Revelations. Most people believe that these beasts are one and the same. Okay, I believe that as well. But the other beast was considered to be a dragon. Now, this beast could probably look like a dragon too. Daniel probably didn't know what a dragon looked like. So in his mind, he couldn't identify, right? It just looked terrible. Like, it looked scary. Think of Godzilla, right? He's like, yo, what is that? I don't even know what that is, you know? So he just said it looks dreadful. So now, Daniel says in verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. So in the midst of the 10 horns, a little horn came up, right? This horn was a little different. It said it had eyes like a man and a mouth as well. And it caused 3 of the horns to be rooted out, or to be plucked out, it says, right? It says 3 of the first horns were torn out by the roots to make room for it. So by the roots, meaning by the top of the head, they were torn out, right, to make room for this little horn, okay, which had eyes on it, like eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things, right? Or it says a mouth that was boasting arrogantly, okay? So I beheld till the thrones were cast down, all right? Now it says, I watched as thrones were put in place. Okay, this one says were cast down. So let's look at another term. The NLT says put in place. This one says cast down. And when I think of cast down, I think of like thrown down, right? So let's see. While I considered another horn, as I watched, thrones were set in place. Okay, so it says, so we'll say it like this: thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days did sit. Right. So he watched as thrones were, I guess, cast down or coming down or put in place. And then it says the Ancient of Days did sit, and the Ancient One took his seat. So his clothing was white as snow. The hair on his head was like pure wool. Okay. So it says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. The Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. Okay. His throne specifically, so there are many thrones, but his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. Okay, so his throne was fiery flames with wheels of burning fire. A stream of fire flowed from his presence. Okay, so fire stream, it says, issued and came forth from before him. It says thousands of thousands ministered unto him. So it says thousands and thousands ministered or were serving him, right? Kind of attending him. And then it says 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. So it says millions and millions stood before him, right? The judgment was set and the books were open. Okay. So this is after all of these beasts he saw, now this is kind of like a chronological order in a way of events that's going to happen. Okay, so it had the first beast, second beast, third beast, fourth beast. Now the thrones were set, right, and judgment is called, right. So now it's like they're in a court of law, and justice is about to be put forth. Okay, so I beheld even till the beast was slain. So I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. Right? And before that it says books were opened. Right? So in the Bible they talk about us being we will be judged by our own words and our own deeds. Right? So in order for that to happen, there needs to be a record of everything that's happening on earth. And so I believe, and if you study, you'll probably find where it says that the things you say and the things you do are recorded, right, in heaven. So just keep that in mind, all right? But we won't talk about that. We'll stay right here, okay? So I beheld then because of the voice of the great words, right? So it says in this one it says, then the court was convened, right, and the books were open. I kept watching then because of the arrogant words which the horn was speaking. So as the court was convened, the horn, that little horn that came up, was still speaking arrogant words. I watched as the animal was killed. Okay, so this is the beast. The fourth beast. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So they killed the beast during the court session. Right? The body was destroyed, it says. The body of the beast was destroyed. So the entire what made up the body was destroyed, and it was given over to be burned up completely. So it says it was given to the burning flame. So that issue of fiery flame that came in front of the Ancient of Days. Okay. Now it says that I beheld even till the beast was slain by his. As concerning the rest of the beasts, okay, so the other three beasts, they had their dominion or authority taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. Okay? So as for the other animals, their rulership was taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a time and a season. I kept watching the night visions when I saw, coming with the clouds of heaven, someone like a son of man. Okay? He approached the Ancient One and was led into his presence. All right? So now Daniel sees in the sky, coming in the clouds. What does this sound like? Who does this sound like, right? Someone who looked like the Son of Man. All right? He came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, the one that's already there in the court session, sitting down on the fiery throne. Okay, he's already there. Now he comes, okay? It's like a procession. And they brought him near before him. So the angels that were attending the Ancient of Days brought the Son of Man before him, okay? Now look, this is what happened. And there, in that point in time, there was given him dominion and glory and the kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Now, in the Bible, we see this same promise, the same wording in many other places, and they're talking about. They refer to a few ways, right? They in different prophecies, like in Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Isaiah, they talk about the coming of this everlasting kingdom that God is going to set up, right? And even in Daniel as well, before early on, when Nebuchadnezzar has a dream and Daniel interprets it, and then the rock comes down and destroys the statue in his dream, right? We won't talk too much about that, but this refers to God setting up his kingdom, the kingdom of heaven on earth, okay? And the Son of Man shall rule over that kingdom, okay? That Son of Man is considered the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, right? It's a everlasting kingdom, and it's also, and God also promises that the throne of David is an everlasting one; it shall not pass away. So this comes also from the promises that he made to David about his throne never passing away, and it would be a Son of Man who would sit on this throne. And so now we see that after the fourth beast was slain and the other three beasts whose power and authority was taken away, but their lives were spared, all of that authority now, the dominion, is going to be given to this Son of Man, okay? By the Ancient of Days, okay? And just to keep in mind, there's two figures here. There's literally two figures that Daniel is seeing, okay? We have to interpret this literatively, figuratively, symbolically, right? So there's literally two figures he's seeing. There's literally millions of angels he's seeing, okay? And he's looking at this court session happening. The beasts they're figurative speech, but they symbolize, you say, nations or powers, right? Like organizations that rule over the world, okay? So that is figuratively. However, the Ancient of Days that we see, that is a literal, I believe that's literally, he's looking at the Ancient of Days, which we call God, right? And the Son of Man, we call Lord and Savior, okay? So, and there was given him dominion, right, and glory, and a kingdom, okay, that all people, so not just one person or two people, all people would serve him, right? All people, all nations and languages, every language, that's English, French, Japanese, Chinese, Mandarin, right? All languages will serve this Son of Man, right? They will be under his authority, under his ruleship. So keep that in mind, okay? So it says it shall not pass away, right? So let's see. Let me look at. Let me. I want to read it here. Okay. I kept watching them because the arrogant word speaking. Blah blah. Blah. Kept. All right. So like Son of Man, he approached the Ancient One of Days, and he was led in his presence. To him was given rulership, glory, and the kingdom, so that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His rulership is an eternal rulership that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. As for me, Daniel, my spirit deep within me was troubled. The visions in my head frightened me. I approached one of those standing by and asked him what all this really meant. Okay, so before we get into the interpretation of that, right, that was a lot. Okay, so Daniel is having a dream, right? He's having a dream, and he's able. It's more than just a dream, though. It's a vision that was given to him by God of the end times. We know it's of the end because of the other scriptures that we can reference at that. They kind of like, they parallel each other, right? There's a pattern here, and these are prophetic, okay? So we won't read into what he said in this video. We're going to read in the next video, because I don't want to go over time. But right now, what we saw is these beasts, right? These three beasts, and these beasts, you can see them as nations or kingdoms on earth, okay? And that have authority over many people on earth. The dream kind of happened in chronological order. There was an order to it. So this came first, that came second, this came third, this came fourth, this came fifth, this came sixth, right? So we saw all the beasts, right? So the three beasts. Then we saw the fourth beast, right? Which was different than all the other beasts. Then we saw the horns, right? So he looked, the horns were 10 horns. Then all of a sudden a small little horn that came out with eyes and a mouth, right? That little horn, because of that little horn, 3 of the other 10 horns were taken out. So there were only 7 horns left, plus the little one, that's 8 horns, right? That little horn was very boastful. It spoke great things, it says. Then we saw the thrones being set in place, right? And then we saw the Ancient of Days take his seat, right? Then we saw it described his throne as a fiery one. Then it said the court was in order. It was like a pretty much judgment was about to happen. God was getting ready, is judging the beasts, all 4 of them now, right? All 4 of the beasts are being judged. Now, the 4th beast got the severity of the punishment, right? It was slain, destroyed, and killed, and thrown into the fiery stream of fire. The other 3 beasts, they lost their authority but kept their lives, okay? So, then we see the Son of Man coming on the clouds, right? Being ushered to the Ancient of Days by the angels, right? So he was brought to him, and then in that hour, I'm pretty sure the Ancient of Days allowed, pretty much set him up. He was like his inauguration, right? He was set up with authority, rulership, kingship, glory, honor, right? All on, and this is on earth now. This judgment is happening on earth, okay? All the nations of the world have been put under his control, under his dominion. Okay, so we're gonna catch back up in part 2 of this teaching. So if you like this, I want to invite you to come to our weekly Bible studies. It's a live Bible study. It happens every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. I was about to say p.m. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. I like to do it in the morning. If you have, it's a Q&A session. We just talk, we fellowship. You know, I bring some teachings and we just talk. If you have some questions, you can possibly get them answered. I don't know everything. I study as much as I can, and I'm willing to help however I can. Even if it helps understand a little bit more than what you did before the Bible study. I encourage you to come check it out for yourself and to just fellowship with us. It happens over Zoom. If you are interested in it, you can go to theartoflevelingup.com/Bible-study, or just go to theartoflevelingup.com and we have links to the Bible study. There's a Zoom link there. It's just no sign up. You don't have to sign up or anything. Just click on the link on Saturdays at 8 a.m. and you should be able to get in and you should be there. So thank you for taking the time to check this out. I will speak to you again in part 2. Peace.